Okay, today we are discussing about physical change and chemical change. Now let's begin our class. We can observe several changes in our daily life. In our daily life, we observe many changes around us. For example, in first picture you can see a person is tearing a paper, and from that paper he make a different shape. Here he is making flower shape. So here also change take place. In second picture you can see milk is changed into the curd. So here also change take place. In third picture, you can see our tailor is making a uniform or dress from the raw cloth which we give to them. Here also change take place. Why? Because initially we give them the raw cloth, and from that raw cloth he make a different designs, different shapes of that raw cloth, and he make our uniform. So it is also a change. In another picture, you can see a person is hitting the stone and it changes the stone. Initially there was only one stone piece, and when he hit that, it be in two pieces. Here also change take place. Another picture you can see a seed is germinating. Here also change take place. Another picture you can see a person is bending that iron rod and it changes shape. Initially it was in straight shape. Now it become bend or curve like structure. So here also change take place. In next picture you can see a person is burning a paper. While burning the paper also changes a form. It become brownish or blackish type. This is also change. In last picture, in this slide, you can see a person is mixing salt in water. Here, when mixing that salt in water, the water taste become different. Initially, it was tasteless. When you eat the salt, it becomes salty. So here also change takes place. Now another example, this is a water cycle, and we know about water cycle. The sun heat evaporate the water and it become the cloud, and after certain period of time the cloud condenses and fall in the earth surface as a rainfall. This is also a change. This is also a change. Another example, while frying that egg, it is also a change. The egg is different than that is initial state. So here also change take place. Now all these changes all these changes can be categorized into two types on the basis of whether new substances are formed or not. On the basis of whether new substances are formed or not, we can classify all these changes into two categories. They are physical change and chemical change. Physical change and chemical change. They are categorized on the basis of whether a new substance are formed or not. Whether new substances are formed or not. Now let's discuss about physical change. What is physical change? The change that occur in a matter, the change that occur in a matter without losing the identity of the molecules, without losing the identity of molecule is called physical change. Meaning that there is no change in the molecular state, there is no change in the chemical property of a substance, there is no change in the chemical composition of a substance under a physical change. It does not produce new substance, it does not produce new substance. It is temporary change. It is temporary change, and generally physical change can be reversed back. It can be undo. It can be undone. It is a temporary change because it can be reversed. Generally physical change can be reversed. For example, melting of ice. Melting of ice into water is also a physical change. Why? Because whether it become a ice or it become a liquid water, it has the same molecular structure, that is S2O. So it is considered as a physical change. Here is a change. Ice is a solid state, ice is in a solid state, and water is in liquid state. But their molecular structure is same. No change in the molecular identity. That's why it is known as the physical change. And breaking down of the pencil is also considered as a physical change. Here the pencil is changed by its shapes or state only or size only. That's why it is only considered as a physical change. Here no new substance is formed. No new substance is formed. When we break that pencil, it we consider it as a pencil. We don't consider it as another thing. We consider same as a pencil. That's why it is a physical change. In the picture you can see a person is cutting a paper and folding it and making it a box shape, and it is also physical change. Why? Because here is no new substance. is your no new substance is produced. That's why we consider this type of change as a physical change. No new substance is produced. Another example of physical change are making that dough. Okay, dough from that wheat and wheat flour is a physical change. Cutting the vegetable or cutting or tearing anything, that is also physical change. And making that pot from that clay is also an example of physical change. Inflation of that balloon is also a physical change. Breaking down of that glasses is also a physical change. And melting of ghee is also a physical change. Remember, in physical change, there is only change in the state, shape and size of the substances. There is no change in the chemical composition or chemical property of a substance. There is only change in the physical property of a substance. Now, chemical change or changes that brings about change in the molecule and produce entirely new substance is called chemical change. Or changes that bring about change in the molecules and produce entirely new substance is called chemical change. In chemical change, there is a change in molecular level, there is change in chemical composition, and there will produce a new substance. There will produce a new substance, and it is a permanent change. It is a permanent change. That's why generally chemical change are irreversible. We cannot undo that. If we do it, if it happen, we cannot reverse it back. It is a permanent change. For example, burning of firewood. Burning of firewood is also a chemical change. Why? Because when we burn that firewood, there will produce a different substance like carbon dioxide, smoke, and ashes will produce. And from that ashes, smoke, we cannot again reverse that. And the carbon dioxide, that ashes, they are different things from that firewood. That's why it is a chemical change. Your new substance is produced. From firewood, they are produced carbon dioxide and acids, which are totally different. Another example, our digestion. Our digestion of food is also an example of chemical change. We eat a delicious food, and after a certain period of time, that food come out of our body in the form of stool, which is totally different than our original food. So it is also a chemical change. Other example of chemical change are when we mix that vinegar and baking soda, it forms the carbon dioxide. It is also a chemical change. A new substance is formed. Making chapati or roti, you can call it also a chemical change. It is also a chemical change. Here you can see that brownish dark like a spot, that is due to the chemical change. Due to the chemical change, eating that chapati is a chemical change. And you can see here that when we eat that chapati, it increases in size because of the production of that air gas inside that chapati. And rotting of that fruit vegetable is also an example of chemical change. And cooking or baking of that food is also an example of chemical change. Burning that magnesium ribbon, burning that magnesium ribbon is also a chemical change. Why? Because when we burn that magnesium ribbon, it forms the magnesium oxide, which is totally different than that magnesium. So it is known as chemical change. Roasting of iron. Roasting of iron is also example of chemical change. A roast is totally different than that iron. Roast means Fe2O3, iron oxide. That's why roasting is also a chemical change. Other example of chemical change are burning that sugar. Burning that sugar is also a chemical change. When you burn the sugar, it forms a blackish type of mass. And that blackish type of mass don't have the property of sugar. The blackish mass is not sweet. So it is also chemical. It is a different substance. It is a different substance. When you burn the sugar, it produces the new substance. That's why burning of sugar is also example of chemical change. Burning of paper is also a chemical change. Roasting of iron is also a chemical change. and that molecules of compound or molecules are formed by the chemical reaction between them. They are bound chemically. That's why for formation of that molecules, formation of compound molecule is due to the chemical reaction or chemical changes between them. For example, we know the example of the molecule of water. Molecule of water means H2O. H2O are formed by the chemical combination between them, and when they are combined chemically, they show the different property. For example, in case of water, water is made from hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen, they are gas, whereas water is a liquid. It's so different property. Hydrogen and oxygen, they support the burning. Whereas water does not support the burning. So during that chemical reaction, new substance is produced, and they show the different property. They have different property. Okay, now another one, some substance. They show both the chemical change and physical change. For example, you can see in the picture, a candy shows both the chemical and physical changes property. For example, uh, you can see your candle. Candle, when born, it melt. When it melt, it fall down and it solidify at the bottom. It show it only change in the state. It is a physical change. In this picture, you can see it is showing the physical change. Physical state only changing here. It become water like a substance, and again it solidify. This is a physical change only. Whereas when we burn that candle, at that time smoke is also produced, light is also produced, heat is also produced, and from that heat and light we cannot reverse that candle again. So it is a chemical change also. That is totally new substance. Smoke is different substance than that wax. That's why it show both the chemical and physical property. It show both the chemical and physical changes. It show both the physical and chemical changes. I hope you got the concept of that chemical and physical change. Okay, now let's discuss the beginning pictures, which is physical change or chemical change. That frying that egg is a chemical change. It is a chemical change, and evaporation or water cycle. Water cycle is a physical change. It is a physical change, and mixing that salt in water or making that salt solution is a physical change. Physical change. Here, no new substance is formed. Burning of that paper is a chemical change. Bending of iron rod is a physical change. Germination of seed is a chemical change. Breaking down of the stone is a physical change. And making that uniform or dresses from that raw cloth is an example of physical change. Making the curd from the milk is an example of chemical change. And making different shape from the paper or tearing the paper is an example of physical change.